Hello, welcome to the latest edition of the Business Spotlight podcast. I'm joined today by Gill Tee, and Gill is the co-founder of the Black Deer Festival, which is based in Erridge. So, Gill, welcome to the call.
Hi, thank you for inviting me along.
Well, Gill, I was really interested to see what it is that you do, and I've got tons of questions. I'm going to try and limit them, but let's start with you telling us a little bit about Black Deer and why it was formed and how it was formed just a few years ago.
Yeah, it came about through a chance conversation about a genre of music that I believed, and the person I was talking to believed, was quite underserved in the UK currently in the festival market. And because I'd run a festival for 5 years at the Hop Farm, for a promoter, a big well-known UK promoter, I was his festival director. So I had a lot of festival experience. So this chance conversation brought about a conversation that was about this specific music that we both loved. And the guy I was talking to happened to be a retired marketeer who'd brought Budweiser and Marlboro into the UK through his years. He was now retired. He was an uncle of a friend of mine. So it was a real chance meeting. And he started discussing the fact that I'd been festival director of the Hop Farm Festival. He knew about my background in music and things. And he talked about his background in marketing. And he talked about the fact that he went to the first ever Isle of Wight festival many years ago, when he was a young man, when Jimi Hendrix played. And, I mean, the list is endless of the amazing artists that played. And we just had this conversation. And at the end of it, he said to me, "Jill, would you ever run your own festival?" And I said, well, the only way I'd ever run my own festival if there was investment. It was the place that I'd been working with, which was the Erridge Estate. And it was a genre that I believed in, which was the genre we discussed. So that started the process. And he said to me, if I put some seed money in, would you be interested in looking at the opportunity? And I went, yes. so that is how Black Deer began a chance meeting.
I mean, it's fascinating because you obviously had all the elements in place to, perhaps to make it start, but there's a big leap between that and actually finding the courage then to, I guess, really plow all of yourself into that. Where did that courage come from?
I thought, well, I've always had quite a lot of if something what makes me tick is an excitement about an idea or something that makes me feel alive. The conversation we started to have, I had no intention of starting my own festival, but having said that, as soon as he broached this subject with me, it was like an immediate, I obviously subconsciously had always had the desire to create a festival because it was an immediate yes. And I've changed my career path over many years of working in the industry. I was head of entertainment at Capital Radio way back, and one of my projects there was to start the first ever party in the park in Hyde Park, of which I then appointed a production company. I was the client. We put together the whole festival. It was a day event actually. It was 100,000 people came into Hyde Park. It was so exciting to be heading up that project on behalf of the radio station. But working with the production company, I saw this world build in Hyde Park out of nowhere, just grass. And then suddenly you've got a whole village of people and machinery coming in and kit and suppliers all coming together to make this event happen. And then watching from the stage 100,000 people coming into that site and really realizing, wow, I was a part of that, was an incredible feeling. So it wouldn't go away, this feeling for me, that how much I loved watching the world build. So I decided to change career, to leave I loved my job at Capital. I decided to leave, up sticks, and start my own production company and learn how to produce events and festivals. So that's kind of a big change, a massive change. that I did career-wise.
So you brought a lot of experience and, you know, connections and what have you to this, which I'm sure has been, you know, incredible help in getting it off the ground. But what's the first shock? What was the first thing that you came across that thought, I'm a little bit maybe out of my depth on this one?
That's terrible. I rang Debs, who we'd been working closely together with on projects, Deb Schilling, who I sort of said to her, Debs had worked more on the corporate side of things and events, but in the corporate sector more. And I asked if she wanted to join forces on this, because we'd been running some projects together as Entity, which was my the production company we worked, you know, under. And she said yes. So the two of us sort of got together and excitedly started the ball rolling. And for me, I can't speak for Debs, you know, but for me, it was like an engine that fired up, that nothing was going to kind of stop us achieving what we'd set out to achieve. So I was never scared. I was never scared of the challenge of it. But I think, rightly or wrongly, my investors would say along the way they probably wish they'd never met me, some of them, but because they got involved with the passion and the belief that Black Deer, we set out to build a brand, not just a festival. And they're still with me today, a lot of those investors, and new investment has come in over the years. But yeah, I don't think I've ever been scared.
Well, that's fantastic to hear. Actually, that's fantastic.
I've been challenged massively, and you know, lots of things have been challenged. Relationship, everything you can imagine. Building a festival is not for the faint-hearted in any way, shape, or form. And there's regrets, and there's, you know, joy, and there's highs, and there's lows, and I can't begin to tell you. I could write books on this. Okay. But it's a very, very challenging area to break into.
And obviously the output product is a music festival, and with all the people that are attending, and all the people that are involved in setting up, etc., etc. But throughout the year, what are the other aspects of the business that you really need to focus on to get to that output point? What's taking up your time during the rest of the year in terms of the business and preparing for the festival?
Well, very early on, we appointed somebody to look after the practicalities of the business side of it. Creatively, you know, artistically, there was the team that we pulled together, that, you know, that a brilliant team that all believed in what the vision was that Debs and I had, was to create this unique brand for a genre that was, you know, quite underserved in the UK marketplace at the time. Yeah. And I feel like what we managed to do is to meet all those challenges along the way, and achieve our goals. I think I've lost the plot of what you.
Well, I'm just thinking that, you know, a typical business has got administration, it's got marketing, it's got sales, it's got financial management, it's got team building and appointing and retaining staff. And I'm just curious to know whether that's how the business feels for most of the year as you build up for the event.
So my starting point was we realized very quickly that we needed to have divisions of labor within the business. So my specialist subject, if you like, was creatively building a festival, so producing the actual festival, and Debs was more bent towards the marketing side of things, so custodian of the brand. So she built her team to build the look and the feel of it externally. Creatively, we joined forces to build what was inside, so that the touchy-feely bits of the festival once the customer came on board. But the actual business side was taken by someone we took on, a guy called Chris Russell Fish, who's still MD today, who took us through the business journey of Black Deer. Because when you have investors, you know, that was one investor we started with, Colin Lloyd. became many investors. And in order for people to put their money into an idea and a project, you have to have somebody who actually knows the numbers in terms of what an investor would expect to be looking at in order for them to invest. So Chris has been very pivotal in that process for us.
Yeah, because I mean, that's the serious side of the business, isn't it? The finances that drive it. Going forwards, what are your hopes for the festival?
Well, there's been quite a change in the direction of the festival. Not a change, but we're focusing on extending the brand beyond the festival. Right. So the actual festival management as such, you know, we feel like we've established a very good festival now. People know it. We achieved what we set out to do, and that has now, we've passed some of the management that to a company that we've brought in who's looking at that as their project, as part of their other projects. So we are now focusing as a business on looking at how we expand the brand to run throughout the year. So smaller events happening, not necessarily another festival, but extending the brand in the UK and hopefully other territories as well. So that's the business plan as it currently stands.
That's an interesting idea, because I guess what you're doing there is you're smoothing out the revenue flow into the business, rather than it all being around one major event. It's taking some of the pressure off at other points in the year.
Exactly, and anyone who's worked on festivals knows it's a really like a tightrope you walk with the festival, with one festival. So by putting our eggs in more baskets, then the flow of money becomes a lot more tangible, doesn't it? You can spread the load rather than it be all dependent on one 3-day event in England when it rains. And you know, and with you know, the cost of living, everything's been thrown at us since we started Black Deer. It probably couldn't have been a worse 5 years or 6 years of its life, that we've had so many things, you know. But just
still here, and that's the fascinating thing. You've clearly got a passion, you've clearly got a determination, you've clearly got resilience, especially after what we've been through, and you've got vision for the future and plans for the future. Gill, it's been absolutely fascinating talking to you. I really do wish you the best for the future, and I'm going to get to the next Black Deer Festival. It's on my list of things to do.
I'm sure you do.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.